Hello everyone. So what I've been working on recently is a second Fiddleyard for the branch line that I'm planning on having. The reason being is the Fiddleyard below, there wasn't much space left at all there, and I just thought it'd be a lot easier having another Fiddleyard above the one that I've already got. So yeah, I've sort of been working on this a little bit. What I've got here is about a 5 foot length board. It's just higher than the stuff that goes underneath. Because the problem is I've not got a huge run for the incline, so I'm trying to balance it between having it not too steep and in the height of all this. But I sort of think I've got it. So yeah, what I've got here is obviously, as you can see, the new board. The old section here from what was going to be the old viaduct section. I've got like a little bit of lip on wood there to sort of so that sits down. It's also got some legs on it as well. I've got to find a way of just being able to hook it up, but if I open it up, you can sort of see that you've got access to everything nice and easily. So it works. It's not going to be a huge for the yard. Probably like a run-around loop, and then 4 or 5 sidings maybe, depending on what I can fit in. But it's not going to have a lot anyway. It's just so that the branch passenger trains and goods trains can come up here, turn around and eventually at some point come back down again. So I mean, it sort of made sense to put it here. As for the sort of incline, it sort of starts about there. See if I can narrow it down a little bit. So as you can see, it sort of starts there. There's about a 3 foot section there, where it drops down about an inch. So and then it sort of goes into the curved bit there, which will be flat. So when trains run around uphill, they'll go down there onto the flat curve, and then it gives them a little bit of a push to sort of come up that bit of an incline. I've not tested that bit of an incline at all yet, so it should be interesting to sort of see if it'll work or not. What else? So that's that for that. Let me just take you around the other side and I'll show you the rest of it. Back in a moment. Okay, so there you can sort of see the Fiddleyard bit there. There's the annoying water tank, which is going to really ruin the scenery, but never mind. So obviously there's the corner there, which of course will be sort of on the flat to help with their traction. And there's the incline, sort of roughly in place at the minute. It's not all screwed down. I have sort of tested roughly that angle, and with like a little 1F pulling like 3 coaches, and one of them was the wheels don't run very freely, and I mean it just about managed to pull it up. So hopefully it should be alright. I'm going to have to test it properly once I screw it down, but before I lay the track properly, just to make sure. Then we sort of come into the corner bit there. I don't know if you can see that very well. Lots of things in the way. But yeah, this corner bit there. That does go down ever so slightly, so you know what I mean. It's not flat, but it's like very minimal. Yeah, there's literally hardly anything in it. So But yeah, that's sort of right sort of there is where the track will come out. From, you know, because all this bit here, this whole line up to the Fiddleyard will sort of remain hidden. What my plans are for it is to put like a back scene in front of that, but not too high so I can still reach in if something derails. That's why I've put like the hardboard back scene there all the way along. That's not finished yet. I've still got to paint it sky blue, but the idea is so that it just, because all I've got behind that is some wooden beams, it just means that if you're looking at it from any angle, you're sort of going to see the layout and then sort of sky, rather than just seeing the layout and then just wood. One annoying thing is obviously the shadow from the gaps. Because the roof ain't flat, it's a bit awkward to do anything with that, and I'm just wondering how I could sort of try and fix that. Maybe masking tape, but I mean I put some up on the plasterboard up here in the loft, and that fell down within no time at all. So if anyone's got any suggestions on ways to sort of fill that gap, please let me know. That gap down there I'm leaving for the moment until all this is fastened down and sorted, because I don't know how I'm going to do the scenery from the backboard in front of the incline, coming into what will be the backboard on the actual layout. So I don't know how I'm going to do that bit yet, but what I can do is just make something up and slot it in as and when I want to. What I'll probably do is just paint that timber there blue, just in case, and just so it matches in. It's not going to matter. Unfortunately, I needed a bit more paint, and the only things they do is like really small pots or gigantic ones, which is really annoying. So I've had to buy a big pot for just a little bit of painting. So yes, annoying, but I'm sure I'll find a use for it. So that's it for now. My next job, of course, is to paint this back scene, get it fixed in place. Also, with the way it is, let's see if you can. The idea being is that the trains won't, if they come off the track towards the back, that should hopefully stop it. And then obviously the back scene that goes in front of that for the actual layout will should butt up against that, but I might put a few bits of strips in anyway, just to sort of protect the train anyway. And obviously I need to do the same down that end. Just put some sort of strips along the edge of the board there to stop it, but I'll do that once I've fully tested it. So yeah, next job is paint all that, fix all that, see if I can find a way of dealing with those sort of gaps with that creates the shadows. But I don't have to be perfect anyway, because it's just there just to help keep a bit of the immersion, I suppose. But once I've done that, I'll fix the boards down. I will then lay some track, test it all out, and if that works all good, then I'll cork it all and start from there. So yeah, this is sort of part one of this episode. I'll work on part two later, I suppose. One other thing I have been working on is just trying to work on colours of sleepers. And I've got that one, which is like I think it's called German Camo Black Brown or something. from Fiddleyard, which I think looks quite comparable to the sleepers maybe, or maybe a bit too sort of just pure black maybe. I don't know, but just playing around I suppose. just a rough test piece. So yeah, I'll hopefully catch you in the next one where I can show you a train running up and down that incline. Fingers crossed. So thanks for now. Catch you next one. Bye.